Okay, let's start with The Nation. Tinubu Shetima floor atiku will be at Tribunal. Customs redeploys officers. Unilag students protest. Tribunal sacks another Kogi APC senator. $14 billion deal with Indian businessmen excites president. NLC directs members to resume work. Fire God's fans accounts unit airport basement. And Lagos Kano, 3 others worst hit by food nutrition crisis, says UNICEF. Okay, which story are we starting with?
You can start with NLC. So the Nigerian Labour Congress has ended its 2-day warning strike, directing its members to resume work today. The Congress described the participation of the affiliate unions in the warning strike as a show of undaunted and resilient commitment to defend Nigerian workers and citizens against man-made economic hardship. And, they were also asking the affiliate unions to stand by for indefinite strike in case the federal government refuses to take effective action to, lift the sufferings of the workers, which was occasioned by the removal of the fuel subsidy. So he says, that's the NLC president, Joe Ajero, and I quote, he said, "We write to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our dedicated affiliates, state councils and esteemed members for their unwavering support and active participation in the recent 2-day nationwide strike. The collective effort was undertaken to emphasize a strong conviction that the government should prioritize welfare of our citizens and adhere to established statutes," among other things that he said. But correspondent reports also gave that the strike was successful in some states and flopped in other states. In Sokoto State, for instance, said the NLC had to hail their members for complying. And we know that in Lagos State, it was more like partial compliance. Most people were, going about their duties. Also affected the Enugu State Electricity Distribution Company. He said that it caused them a loss of supply in parts of their network. So they were not able to give light to their people, and among other things.
Yes, so I have... Nigeria offers the best returns on investment. Our President Bola Tinubu told some Indian investors at a business roundtable yesterday in New Delhi. Remember, I took in the papers that he was in New Delhi, India, meeting with some business people, and he said that this presidential roundtable and business conference was organized by the Nigerian High Commission in India in collaboration with the Confederation of Indian Industry. Anyway, first of all, the investors have agreed to or have pledged or, to invest about $14 billion into our economy. And our president commended them for that. And he says, anyways, there's nowhere else that offers the sort of investment opportunities now available in Nigeria. He said his administration has resolved to drive an economy that will support profit-making investments. Of course, the investors too had a bit of some worries. They said that they know Nigerians for their constant change in policies, And our president says, he's our marketer in chief. He says we should look at what happened in the past as twists and turns of politics, which is not peculiar to Nigeria, but also applicable to some of the oldest contemporary democracies like the United States. So it's not just our problem, it's something that you would encounter anywhere. And he says that he says, we are the people that pledge to represent the bureaucracy, the authority in many ways here before you, and the captain of the ship is myself, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And I can only promise you that I will captain the vessel of development, prosperity, and democracy fully for Africa, the largest democracy, and for the rest of the world.
He's giving himself, he's giving his word. He's going to do the right thing.
Yeah.
The major headline yesterday's tribunal, we're going to discuss a bit later, but very quickly, the 5 of the key highlights of yesterday's judgment was number 1, 25%. Taking 25% in Abuja as condition for victory is not mandatory. The APC lacks the local standard to challenge Obi's LP candidacy. The EU's report is not tenable. Tinubu's forfeiture of cash in the US not criminal. And transmission of poll results at INEC's portal discretional. So those are the key 5 judgments I was giving, but we'll discuss it much later on the show.
I wanted to just take that the APC, the ruling All Progressive Party has lost out to the Kogi to the PDP candidate, Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan.
She's been at it for a while, and I'm so happy for her. Congratulations, Natasha. That's the story. Okay, moving on now to Punch. Atiku plan appeal as election tribunal dashes bid to sack Tinubu. 17-year-old boy locks his parents up and steals car. Tribunal's APC loses 2 National Assembly seats, PDP wins 1. MMIA fire, air traffic controllers relocate to mobile tower. Consumers protest as FG hikes electricity meter price by 40%. NNPCL falls sale of NAOC assets to Ando, and gas revenue drops by 3.3 trillion in 12 months, says report. Which story are we taking?
Can I take the 17-year-old boy?
Sure, please.
Who was simply identified as Ayomiposi Esan. I'm not sure which Esan. So anyway, he locked his parents in the house and stole 2 generators, a Toyota Corolla, and a sound system, and 3 phones, 3 mobile phones. And but the parents reported to the police, and it took the effort of all their neighbors to come and to get them out of the house because he had locked them and taken away. So the police now arrested him. They apprehended him, and in Lagos, actually, this happened in Sagamu. I forgot to say, this happened in Sagamu, and he drove to
Sagamu
Lagos.
is not Lagos now. Sagamu is not Lagos.
No, they found him in Lagos.
Oh, okay. He drove to Lagos.
Okay.
And the parents say they want to prosecute. They dropped the charges. I thought this story was interesting because he should be punished. Maybe not by the police, but by the parents because
he's an adult now. What kind of punishment would
he's 17.
Okay.
He's 17. He's a 17-year-old child.
What cases like this?
My own question is, what would you do if it was your child? I don't know because I wouldn't be able to hand my child over to the police.
I think the parents would do what most parents are doing. I don't know about rights, but I think the state will take up the case anyway.
No, if the parents don't prosecute,
the state should be able to take up the case.
He's a minor now.
Juvenile delinquent.
I don't think.
We'll see. Moving on, another story in Punch.
Be able to tell us.
Yeah, so the federal government Wednesday announced an increase in the prices of single-phase and three-phase prepaid electricity meters and declared that the hike takes effect from September 6th, that's yesterday. So they announced this in an order released by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission and also jointly signed by the Commission's chairman, Sanusi Garba, and his commissioner, Legal Licensing and Compliance, Dafe, and they were saying that the single-phase meter will now cost 81,975 naira 16 kobo from the previous price of 56,661 naira 69 kobo, while the price of the three-phase meter is now raised to 143,836 naira 10 kobo from 109,684 naira 36 kobo. So power consumers, were bothered about this, and they were wondering why the government had to, or why the government continues to hike the cost of various commodities in Nigeria, especially at this time, and they were saying that, according to NEC, it says that it was fair, reasonable pricing for the marketers. They also had an issue of some of the marketers deciding to pull out from supplying meters to individuals and companies because they felt that they were not able to get their cost, get their profits from the money invested, and if they don't change the price, they will pull out of it. Also, inflation affected it. The forex change also affected it, and
that's a major issue.
But now the consumers, are being hit. We are the ones who are going to buy meters, double, pay electricity, double.
Produce these machines ourselves. As long as they're bringing them outside from this.
But there's no plan to produce ourselves.
So it's not that we can do right now. Okay, another story in Punch. We move on.
Waki took my story.
Okay, let's move on. Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue with our review. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. We're still reviewing. Let me move on now to Vanguard. Why atiku will be petitions against Tinubu fail, says Tribunal. Oyetola declares interest in NIMASA's floating dock lists agenda. Multiple taxation hindering Nigeria's economic growth, says NCC. Strike day 2. We recorded greater compliance, says NLC. Right. Pandemonium as fire guts Lagos airport. UK to declare Wagner group terrorist organization, says report. Fee hike, policeman tear gas protesting Unilag students. And Tinubu in India attracts $14 billion investments. Okay, which story are we starting with?
So there was a riot that happened in Unilag. the anti-riot policemen of Lagos State Police Command and other security agencies in the early hours of yesterday now arrested some leaders of the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, and they were protesting the recent hike in tuition by the university, Unilag, Akoka, and some other federal government-owned universities. So the security operatives took the university's main gate and they tried to prevent the students and other individuals from entering the compound. Even the newly admitted students were not able to enter. Those people were still currently doing their screening, and their parents also were turned back by security men after they had to condone off the area. So the students converged as early as 8 a.m., Sabo area of Yaba, and they displayed different placards with different inscriptions. They were chanting solidarity songs against the tuition hike. Then the policemen, according to the story, said they fired tear gas canisters to disperse them. But the students later regrouped, moving towards the university gates, where some of them were now arrested. So speaking on behalf of the students, the president-elect of the Faculty of Education Students Association, Unilag, Balogun Oladeji Ibrahim, accused the police area commander of ordering his men to shoot canisters at them and also to arrest some of the protesting students. So they said they were going to stay there till those students, I think about 5 of them who were arrested, will be released. So far, we've not gotten any other updates on that.
Okay.
Okay, there was a fire at the Maritime Mohammed Airport yesterday where passengers and airline operators had to be evacuated. They saw them running, but they evacuated everybody. And in another paper, they shut down the
Terminal?
No,
the control room or
control
the tower.
room.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. They said the fire started from basements in the yeah, and what came out really was smoke. But for just to be on the safe side, the fire engines, everybody, they mobilized everybody. They came in and they got everything under control. They don't know the immediate cause, but they will.
It came from the basement.
Yeah.
Okay, any other story in Vanguard? I was going to take Wagner for those of us interested in the story, watching international news. So the UK government is set to label Wagner Group as a terrorist organization. According to Sulia Braverman, the Home Secretary says that Wagner is violent and destructive, is a military tool of Putin, and is a threat to global security and due to his work in Africa and Ukraine. Obviously, I think Putin is really threatening them as in their involvement in Africa. So Wagner's continuing destabilizing activities only continue to serve the Kremlin's political goals, and they are terrorists, plain and simple, and this proscription order makes that clear in the UK law. So that's going to be happening today. They're going to prescribe Wagner Group a terrorist
Wagner is dead.
No, the group is Wagner, but the guy that's, let me get his full
the owner is dead.
So yeah, the Prigozhin, yes, has been declared dead. But the group is still there. Said the leader mobilized his troops in a failed mutiny against the country's military. Putin described the mutiny as a stab in the back and vowed that anyone involved will face consequences. So that's just an update on that story. Okay, let's move on quickly now to the Nigerian Tribune and another story that's interesting. We've not taken. FG increases price of prepaid electricity meters. Okay, you took that already. Nigeria only OPEC member without shipping line, says Oyetola. Tribunal declares Natasha Akpoti Ali winner of Kogi Central Oyo South senatorial polls. Shake-up in customs as acting CG redeploys area controllers. Students protest over fees at Unilag. 5 escape death, property destroyed as flood ravages Ekiti. And finally, how fire incidents created panic at Lagos Airport. Okay.
I have OPEC. So the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, that's Adeboyega Oyetola, he has lamented Nigeria is the only member of OPEC that doesn't have national shipping. And he says that that's for it to bear its flag. And he says, and he's recommending the establishment of a national carrier, but through a PPA, public-private partnership arrangement for freight transport in the country. He says when we do this, we'll be able to end over 30% of freight charges within Nigeria. And he's also saying that he's not calling for the reestablishment of the moribund NNSL, that's the Nigerian National Shipping Line. He's asking for something different. And then he also considered the Nigerian Maritime, that's NIMASA Modular Floating Dock. He says that the floating dock has the capacity to generate jobs and stem capital flight, and therefore called on the agency to explore the buying of stakeholders. He also expressed government's determination to reposition maritime sector for the welfare and well-being of Nigerians. Good conversations so far. Let's just see how these things get implemented.
Okay, any other story we've not taken?
So they said 5 persons on Tuesday, narrowly escaped death in Urije River in Ado-Ekiti, Ekiti State. They said the river overflowed its bank and wreaked havoc on surrounding buildings and other properties. The 5 persons were coming from Urije area and were trying to navigate the flooded bridge when they were overrun by, the fast-flowing water, which drowned them in the valley. So according to the story, they said people on the other side saw what was happening to them and they quickly waded in, and that was how they were able to escape. But then the flood also destroyed different properties. Said it flooded over 5 hours. And also had downpour in Emiri Estate, Olokomeji area, Ilupeju Avenue, and other areas. And some of the victims said they lost millions of naira. Some houses were, flooded, and there were a lot of losses. And they've been complaining. Said this is the 10th time it's happening in that area, and they were calling out to the government to do something about it. I think one of the the Deputy Governor, Chief Monish Shade, also, regretted the level of the havoc and said they are going to try and work out mechanisms that would help the people in those areas going forward.
Okay, final paper, The Guardian. I'm not sure we have any story there, but let's find a story that's different. Stakeholders raise concern over next hike in price of prepaid meters. Why election matters are difficult to prove in court by Tony Cole. 17.7 million Nigerians hungry and others face acute food insecurity. 6,000 cargoes abandoned at Apapa Tinkan port since 2011. And athletics, why it was all wobbling, fumbling on the Budapest track. And the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Mr. Adigboyega, said that about 6,000 abandoned cargoes are lying at Apapa and Tinkan port uncleared since 2011. He said that the customs physical examination in the clearing process is compounding the problem of the overtime cargoes at the port, adding that the abandoned cargo occupies space and cost the country huge losses. Also, the customs had done a bit of rejigging. They actually moved some of their heads around, and some people were moved to Tinkan Island, some were moved to the ports and all that, just to rejig the system a bit to see. Hopefully that would help in reduce the tension that happens at the ports. But when the minister is saying that 6,000 cargoes have not been cleared since 2011, that in itself speaks of inefficiency at the highest level. So hopefully this rejigging would, gross inefficiency. All right, that's all we can take on the paper review. When we return, it's our gisting day. So we're going to be gisting about the tribunal. What did you see? What did you hear? What are your thoughts? We're going to open our phone lines. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.